Today we are going to talk about some stages on the old pilgrim road Via Francigena, about 100 kilometers north of Rome, and since we are in Montefiascone, in English Mount Flask, we start with the story about wine. In 1111, Bishop Johannes Defuk, here known as Defuk, a lover of good wine, was traveling to Rome. In order not to miss out on the best wines, he instructed his servant Martino to go ahead and mark the taverns with good wine with the word est, which means there is. When Martino tasted the wine of Montefiascone, he was so enthusiastic that he marked it with 3 est, est, est.
When Defuk arrived, he tasted the wine and liked it so much that he never left. He basically went on a binge until, after a couple of years, he died from the consequences of excessive drinking. His servant buried him here in San Flaviano.
The Via Francigena, which in many parts is based on Roman roads built for military and commercial purposes, was not a single road but a system of routes, a network of roads divided into 2 main flows.
Montefiascone is located precisely at the point where the 2 roads converged. Right here, very close to the church of San Flaviano, where there was a spring, these roads joined. One was the Francigena, coming from France and Western Europe, and the other was called the Teutonica or Germanica, which brought together all the routes coming from Eastern Europe.
Most pilgrims traveled on foot, covering about 20 kilometers a day. The journey was long and dangerous, so travelers also relied on the protections of the saints.
St. Christopher was the patron saint of pilgrims, and there was a belief that if they saw an image of St. Christopher every day, they would be safe until the following day, meaning that for 24 hours they were insured against misfortune.
In addition to pilgrims, the Francigena, a veritable motorway of the Middle Ages, was generally used for the movement of people and goods. Around the middle of the 10th century, Emprerss Matilde of Westphalia was traveling to Rome to build the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But the mules carrying the gold were stubborn and stopped at Acquapendente, refusing to go any further. The Empress then learned in a dream that this was a divine sign and that the church should be built there.
This shrine is the oldest remaining copy in the West of the original Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, because it preserves some relics that are pieces of marble believed to be stained with the blood of Christ.
Stories and legends circulated among the pilgrims. At Acquapendente there is one dating back to the time of the Charlemagne.
This stone is a historical stone because it is believed to be the petrified footprint of the paladin Orlando, because on these roads, the Francigena and other important pilgrimage routes, the stories of the paladin Orlando were commonplace.
Along the way, pilgrims would stop at hostels where they could find a bed and a meal. There is a post station in Centeno, 10 kilometers from Acquapendente, where the border between the Papal State and Tuscany used to run. In 1633, Galileo Galilei was forced to stay there for several weeks.
This building, the Bramini Farm, was once a lazaretto, where, during the plague, all travelers were forced to wait 40 days in quarantine. Galilei, who was traveling from Florence to Rome to appear before the Inquisition, stopped here and wrote letters in which he complained about the place being abandoned by God and man.
The Via Francigena is not about the destination or the stops along the way. It is about the journey itself, and it is an introspective journey. Each of us who sets out on this path has something to atone for.
For pilgrims who follow the Via Francigena today, it is not just a road that crosses the land, but the path that crosses people, leaving them different from how they were before starting. For Galileo Galilei, unfortunately, it was only the road that led him to the Inquisition tribunal, where, to avoid being burned at the stake, he had to renounce his scientific theories.